Hello, welcome back to our international marketing class. In the last class, we have discussed about export documentation and export procedure. So, in this class, we are going to discuss about export process or how to place an export order. What are the steps involved in processing this export order? Export order processing. Basically, the goods once they manufactured in a country, the export country, they have to reach to the goods should reach to the import country. For this, the exporter he should make an order and implement the order in the legalized way. So, for that, what are the steps involved in this process? That is what we are going to discuss it today. The process actually starts with inquiry by the exporter. The exporter initiates this export order process with an inquiry, either through the importer or through any trade promotional councils, that what we have discussed in the last class. Sometimes he may directly request the information, whatever the request information is required to process this or to place this order. He may directly get it from the importer or the buyer, those who wants to buy the products or those who want to import the product. Directly he can get it from them, or maybe through the trade promotional councils. These trade promotion councils actually they play a very key role in these exports or imports. Basically, the inquiries are done about the details of products, like what kind of products are acceptable by the import country, or maybe the information about the volume and the value of the goods that are required by the importer. What is the quality that they are expecting? Do they need any catalogs before distribution of the products? What are the different sizes of the products they need to be delivered? And like that, there are many kinds of information will be required by the exporter for processing this order. The exporter can actually get the standard type of information from the trade promotional councils. He must immediately attend to the inquiry by responding through the email, provide details on product through literature and catalogs. Whenever the importer he asks for any kind of information through mail, immediately the exporter should respond to that mail and he should provide the required information to the importer. And once the exporter got the sufficient information about what kind of goods at what time or to be delivered, and all the information that whatever is needed for implementing this export, all the information once it is received by the exporter, then he may offer the export order. He may offer it to the importer. For that, the exporter will have to submit his quotation on the pro forma invoice, like whatever we have discussed in the last class. There are many kinds of invoices. So whatever the pro forma is required by the importer, so on this, in that pro forma, the quotation might be sent by the exporter with the details of products, their rates, quantity, quality, value, and many more details as we have discussed in the export documentation class. The delivery period, conditions of sale, and details of warranty or inspection, the procedure of getting approval from the authorities from the home country as well as the host country, all such kind of information should be mentioned in the offer letter by the exporter. So here in the first step or first stage, two things are done. One is inquiry from the exporter, that means by the exporter, actually inquiry by the exporter, as well as the offer from the exporter. These two things are done here. And then the process starts from the importer. It means the importer has to accept the offer which is made by the exporter. The receiver or the buyer, he has to accept the offer. It may not be done at a single mail, or maybe at a single conversation, a single one-side conversation. Sometimes there will be necessity of negotiation before confirmation of this purchase order. So various negotiation strategies are to be used by the exporter in order to get the acceptance from the importer. So whenever the importer asks about the invoices, the exporter should send the invoice in triplicate with 3 copies, that means to the buyer, and ask him to return the 2 copies duly acknowledged and signed by the importer, so that out of these 2 signed copies, 1 copy can be signed by the exporter too and sent back to the importer buyer. So what is happening here? The importer is actually sending one invoice. How many copies? 3 copies to the exporter. The exporter is sending to the importer. So 1 copy. So he will send back 2 copies with the authority signature and seal. The importer is sending 2 copies to the exporter again back, and out of which 1, that means here what is happened, what happened here is importer accepted this offer, so he has sent the acceptance with these 2 copies with signs and everything. So once it is accepted by the importer, the exporter will also send 1 copy back by his signature. So on, uh, on the proforma which there is signature of importer, again the exporter signature will also be placed and sent back one copy. Then this order is accepted by both the parties. Then it goes to the third step. What is that? Export sales contract. So here in the invoice, what information is shared and accepted by both the parties? Only about the quantities of the products and the prices of the products and time of delivery. Such kind of basic things are actually negotiated and approved by both the parties, like exporter and as well as importer. It is not enough for processing this order. There should be a legalized contract between the two parties, importer and exporter. This contract consists of many details about the terms and conditions of the order processing or delivery of the goods. Actually, there are many rules which are actually specified or standardized by the competent authorities, maybe by the import or export country governments. But however, again, apart from those terms and conditions which are actually specified, one more, a normal contract with the details of goods, quality, quantity, price, validity prices, delivery periods, and if any late occurs in the delivery, so what will be the circumstances, and inspection process, what if the results with the inspection results, and about various terms about payments, and various insurances for shipment as well as about the goods. So all these kinds of details should be carried in the contract. All these documents can also be attached and fulfilled by the importer and exporter in this step. So there will be no further disturbances in processing the order. For that, the contractual agreement is compulsory. And the fourth step, after fulfilling all these terms and conditions with a contractual agreement, export permissions and licenses obtaining is one more challenge for implementing this order. Usually there are two kinds of agreements, as we have discussed in the last class also. So for few products, for few kind of goods, the general agreement is fine, but for the products which are not mentioned in the authorized list, then it will be difficult for the exporter to go with this process of getting the license. So the exporter first, what he has to do is has to check if the needs to get the license issued for the terms for which he has received the export order has to be checked first by this exporter. Once he applied and he got the license from the authorities, then he may go for the next step, that is managing finances for exports. The money involved in the process of this exports, actually the government facilitates various financial assistance to the exporters for few kind of products, where actually the government encourages to manufacture in the home country in order to increase the exports. For such kind of products, there will be some financial assistances, like there will be few schemes which provide the financial support to the exporters. So the exporter should know in advance if such kind of assistance is available by the government. The information actually can be got from promotional councils or trade promotional councils, usually because they deal with all these kinds of details. So the exporter can get it from the trade promotion councils about these financial assistances whatever are available. Next, manage the production. Because we got the license, we had this agreement, right? We have completed the agreement process, and we have also gathered the financial resources required for this order. Then it is the process of production, the process of manufacturing the goods. Here the thing is, the goods or the products should be manufactured according to the guidelines whatever we mentioned in the invoice, whatever we mentioned in the contract. So whatever the specifications that we have given in the export contract should be met in this production process. And reserving shipping berth is further step. Through the leading shipping companies announce their schedules, usually in leading media papers. 1 second. So that means the exporter can get the details of these schedules of various shipping firms from leading media papers, especially those who are dealing with this shipping intelligence news. Then based on this information, the exporter should book the berth space for cargo. Usually this can be done by depending on various carrying and forwarding agents, because the exporter may not have sufficient knowledge about reserving this shipping berth and dealing with these shipping firms. So exporter can usually depend upon this carrying and forwarding agents, usually we call it as C&F agents. They work for some kind of commission. So when they place an order, usually they take some commission, and they book the berth of shipping for cargoes. And next step is packing and marking. Usually the details about this packing and marking will also be mentioned in the contract, and also the governments of countries, both the countries, also determine various specifications to be followed for the packing and marking of the goods. What is this marking? Usually there will be some kind of notes, like what the example that we can take is urgent delivery, for example. That will be a mark. And be careful while dealing with the products is one more mark in this export order, maybe in this shipping, such kind of marks. Usually there will be some guidelines by the governments, and there will be few terms and conditions in the contract. So all are to be followed by the exporter. The Bureau of Indian Standards have specified certain standards for packing of export items. How to get these details? The exporter can get it from the Bureau of Indian Standards directly. So they have to follow these specifications, as well as they have to follow the guidelines of Government of India formulated one particular act about this packing in 1966. So the exporter should also know what are the specifications formulated by the act. The international institutions like British Standard Institution and various other standard institutions of other countries have their own packing standards also. As I told you, like there will be standards from the countries also. So the exporter should follow all these various governments acts and various standard institutions specifications and the contracts between the exporter and importer. So all these things should be followed. Why? What is the necessity of following it? Because further the exporter do not want any rejections. So maybe at the inspection time, maybe at the delivery of goods. So at the further stages, at the later stages, he doesn't want to the product to be rejected by the any authorities or maybe by the importer. So that is why the exporter in advance should follow all these things. So the standardized international markings will have to be followed in addition to the special marking instructions given by the importer, usually as we have discussed. So these are the 8 steps, and the last step is pre-shipment inspection. That means after manufacturing the products and after packing and after marking on the packing, on all the packages we have marked also, then there will be a pre-shipment inspection. That is why, as we have discussed, so everything should be done in the standards in order to avoid or prevent rejections in this pre-shipment inspection. Usually this pre-shipment inspection will be done based on the quality expectations and standards of international trade. For that, the Government of India had introduced the Export Quality Control and Inspection Act in the year 1963. According to this act, various products meant for exports have been put on compulsory pre-inspection list, and these items cannot be exported unless a certificate of pre-inspection have been obtained from the Export Inspection Council of India. This Export Inspection Council of India, which does this pre-shipment inspection, is in New Delhi. So usually this organization, Export Inspection Council of India, does this inspection, and this certificate after inspection, like everything is fine, is compulsory for various products to do the export. Apart from this, Inspection Council of India, there are some other regional offices. That means, apart from Delhi, there are some other branches also for this Export Inspection Council of India, like Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Kochi, Ahmedabad, and so on. So, this is the very important thing, right? Which is Export Inspection Council of India, right? But some exemptions are given under some circumstances. If in few circumstances, some exemptions will be given, like quality, or in terms of dimensions, or maybe in terms of time of delivery. Sometimes some exemptions will be given by this export council. So, however, then after obtaining this certificate of pre-shipment inspection, the organization or the exporter may go for delivery of goods to the importer, right? These are the steps involved in the process of an export order. Thank you.